Hey there. Ever feel like you're kind of drowning in stuff and then your bank account's gasping for air right alongside you?
Oh, yeah, totally. That, too much stuff, not enough cash feeling. Way too common.
Right. So we're diving into minimalism today, but not just like the aesthetic. We're talking about how changing your mindset about all that stuff could actually transform your finances.
It really is fascinating how that works. We think of minimalism as like picture-perfect Instagram homes,
Yeah. Yeah.
all those empty surfaces. But the really good stuff, it happens when you apply the minimalist mindset to how you spend.
I'm all about a tidy bank account over a tidy home, let's be honest. We actually dug into this podcast with a minimalism expert who totally flipped the script on how we view our things.
Yeah. One of their biggest points was, like, minimalism isn't about deprivation. It's not some weird challenge to live on bare floors with, like, one fork. It's about being intentional.
So less about do I need this and more about like, okay, but what value does this thing actually add to my life?
You got it. Because, honestly, we are bombarded with messages telling us we need the latest, whatever, the new thing, the bigger house. It's like this consumerism cycle that's relentless.
My social media feed is basically just a constant stream of stuff I have to buy that I didn't even know existed yesterday. It's exhausting.
Right. And that's where that intentional mindset shift comes in. Minimalism kind of helps you slam the brakes on those impulse purchases. When you're constantly asking yourself, what's the value here? You're way less likely to fall for, like, every marketing trick or fleeting desire.
So how does that actually work in real life? Like, do you have to set all these strict budgets and shopping timeouts?
I mean, you can, but what's so cool is that with minimalism, that urge to just buy,
Hmm.
it kind of naturally fades when you're content with what you already have and focus on the things that really matter, experiences, relationships, personal growth.
Yeah.
You just need less stuff.
Oh, for sure. When I'm like genuinely excited about a trip or learning a new skill or whatever, I totally forget about shopping. My brain's too busy with the good stuff.
Exactly. And this kind of leads to another big thing that the expert talked about, quality over quantity. Have you ever, like, bought something kind of cheap and it just fell apart immediately?
All the time. I swear my closet is a monument to fast fashion fails. And the worst part is I'll usually just buy the same thing again because this time will be different, which, spoiler alert, it's
Huh.
not.
And think about the money, right? It's like that old saying, the bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of a sale price is forgotten. Minimalism makes you think, okay, invest in fewer things, but make sure they're good things.
You get like a good pair of boots. Spend more, but they last for years versus cheaping out and having to replace them constantly. It seems obvious, but I get caught up in the moment too.
Oh, for sure. And that less but better idea is not just for clothes or whatever.
Yeah.
The expert we listen to, they actually challenge people to rethink their living spaces too.
Yes, that part was so interesting. Most people think of minimalism as just like getting rid of clutter, but they were talking about actually downsizing your home.
Right. And that's where things get really interesting financially. Think about it. A smaller space usually means lower rent or a smaller mortgage,
Yeah.
and you're using less energy, so your bills are lower.
And you have less to clean. It's like savings dominoes.
Totally. I mean, if you really want to shake things up financially, downsizing your living space can be huge.
It really can be. And they didn't stop there. The expert also talked about how even like transportation ties into this whole minimalist approach to money.
Yeah, they talked about downsizing to a more practical car.
Yeah.
Something fuel efficient.
Yeah.
Or even ditching the car entirely and, like, biking more.
It's so refreshing, honestly, just simplifying that part of life. Plus, think about all the money you save. No more gas, insurance, car payments. And hey, walking and biking is good for you and the planet. It's a win-win.
100%. And, that actually brings us to another core principle of minimalism that can totally transform your finances. Choosing experiences over things.
This is where it all kind of clicks for me. Like when I think about my favorite memories, it's never about stuff I bought. It's always those experiences I had.
Right. It's funny how that works. And the best part is wanting those experiences. It fits so well with the whole minimalist mindset.
Totally. It's like instead of that expensive gadget that'll be outdated next year, you use that money to travel somewhere awesome or learn something new. Heck, even just a fun night out with your friends, those are the things you remember.
100%.
Yeah.
And honestly, experiences don't have to be these huge, expensive things either. Sometimes the best ones are the simplest, like going for a hike, having a picnic in the park.
Movie night. Those are the best.
Probably. It's really just about shifting your focus. Less about the stuff and more about making memories, connecting with people.
And honestly, Those experiences, way easier on the wallet usually than like a designer handbag that gives you, what, a week of excitement?
Exactly. It's temporary. And all this stuff we've been talking about, the intentional spending, going for quality over quantity, focusing on experiences, it all builds up to this bigger picture of financial freedom.
Oh, for sure. I remember the expert on the podcast was talking about how when you spend less, you obviously have more of your own money. It's
Yeah.
so simple, but it's easy to forget.
So easy. We think, oh, I'll start saving when I make more money. But really, it's not always about how much you earn. It's about how much you don't spend.
Yeah.
And minimalism kind of gives you that framework to make better choices. So you can actually use your money for the things you care about.
Yes. It's like realigning your money with your values, you know? Because financial freedom, it's not just about having a ton of cash. It's about being able to actually do the things that matter to you.
Exactly. It might mean finally taking that career risk you've been thinking about,
Mm.
or just working less so you can spend more time with your family. Minimalism gives you the power to actually make those choices.
It's like breaking free from that whole work to buy stuff I don't need to impress people I don't even like cycle, you know?
Oh, I love that. It's about taking back your time and your energy and your money and using those things for what actually brings you joy.
Okay, so we've talked about like decluttering your home, simplifying your spending habits, even downsizing your car. But I really liked what the expert said about how living with less doesn't actually mean you feel deprived. They were saying it actually makes you feel more abundant.
Right. It's like, how can having less make you feel like you have more? It seems backwards at first.
It really does. But when I think about it, it makes sense, you know? Like when I finally cleaned out my closet and got rid of all those clothes I never wore, I didn't miss them. It was more like, ah, I can breathe now.
I totally get that. And I think that feeling, that sense of control, it's a big part of why minimalism creates this feeling of abundance.
Yeah.
When you're not constantly giving in to those impulse buys or feeling pressured to keep up with everybody else,
Yeah.
it's empowering. You're in control of your choices, and those choices reflect what you value.
You know, this whole conversation, it's got me thinking about like the ripple effect of this whole minimalism thing.
What do you mean?
Well, like the podcast we listened to, it was really focused on, the money part of minimalism, right? Which makes total sense. But it feels like this whole shift in how you think about stuff, it could go way beyond just your bank account. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. It's like you plant this seed of minimalism, and suddenly it's sprouting up in all these unexpected places.
Right. It's like once you start asking those questions, do I really need this? Well, what value does this add? It's like it spills over into other parts of your life too.
Like how you're spending your time,
Yeah.
or even your energy.
Yes, exactly. And I was thinking, like, what about relationships? How does minimalism change how you connect with people?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, right? Like, if you're not so worried about impressing people with what you own, could you actually have more genuine connections?
Right. And if you're like actively choosing experiences over things, aren't you naturally creating more opportunities to share those moments with people you care about?
Totally. And what about, like, the stress part of it all?
Yeah.
For me, when my space is cluttered, my brain feels cluttered too. Could minimalism, like, actually make you a calmer, more peaceful person?
I think so. There's something to be said for that,
Yeah.
for sure. Oh, and I've also heard people say that minimalism can actually help you be more creative.
Really? Oh, yeah. Because if you're not constantly bombarded with, like, visual noise and stuff everywhere, your mind actually has space to breathe, you know? It can wander and make new connections.
It's like decluttering your space to declutter your mind.
Exactly. So we started this deep dive looking at minimalism and money. But it's clear that the good stuff, it can impact so much more than just our wallets. Relationships, well-being, even creativity.
It's kind of amazing, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's not really about having less at all. It's about living more intentionally, creating a life that's actually aligned with what you care about.
Yes, so well said. So, as you're going about your day today, we want you to think about this. What part of your life could benefit from a little more intention, a little more simplicity? What can you let go of to make space for what truly matters? The answers might surprise you.
That's the fun part. It's a journey, right? You're always exploring and discovering new things. Thanks for diving deep with us.